ne pe ma ne morning our main topic and on the main subject is importance of learning, to have an inferential valid cognition with regard to some of those hidden important realities to understand, to realize. And that was our main topic this morning. And along that, I explained briefly how the Buddhist masters started from those great Indian masters, Digna and the Dhammakirti, how that the logic is structured in order to form inferential, the valid cognition. Inferential valid cognition will develop, will cultivate based on sound logical statements. And I briefly share, the basic those structures, how it is structured in according to the Buddhist logicians, epistemologists. Along that, some of the useful, helpful, important realities which are not obvious for us, but important to realize, important to cognize. And with that, I share with these four, forms of, rationalities, and those are the something useful to probe some of those realities, the functional realities. That is very much, how the cause and effect is, function. And particularly, according to the ancient Indian spiritual traditions, not just Buddhism, most of the ancient Indian spiritual traditions are only one schools of thoughts. In Tibetan, it is called Gyangpen, I think Samkhya. Samkhya. Do not assert that kind of law of cause and effect. I think in Tibetan is Gyangpen. Not very sure what is the right, what you call the Sanskrit term. They don't believe past lives. They don't believe future lives, according to this particular ancient Indian ancient Indian schools of thought. This is life. Whatever is happening is more or less, random. They have a deep philosophy, but with regard to the law of cause and effect. So I'm using the term law of cause and effect. That's the English. In Tibetan, le, gyunde. Le is literally action. Gyu, de. Gyu refers to cause. De refers to result. So the commonly term is used, karma. This particular school of thought, Gyangpen, Samkhya, they don't assert that. Otherwise, most of the ancient Indian spiritual traditions including the Buddhism, the assert law of cause and effect. And that assertion that the agreeing or that concept from the Buddhist point of view are very much dependent on the following the what you call this out of those four rationality. This is the second rationality of function. So law of cause and effect. And that is for the Buddhist, it is useful, helpful to pursue that kind of rationality. More we are convinced, the law of cause and effect. In other words, in more little bit in a personal level, with the volition, with the volition or with the intention, my action of the body, speech, and mind have a result, have a consequences. And these consequences match according to the actions that I have committed, whether they are wholesome, virtuous actions, or whether they are unwholesome, non-virtuous, actions. The results match according to the causes and conditions. To understand that kind of close link, very close link, then the individuals, what you call the activities of the body, speech, and mind, become more and more, what you call the ethical, more ethical, because of that understanding. Understanding of that connection, close connection between the result and the causes. It is said, clearer and stronger that individual sees, understands that connection of the cause and its effects, the individual will become more sort of and have a more ethical way of living. That's what one of the really principal teachings. This concept of karma, law of cause and effect, is not to cause fear. It is not. The entire concept, entire teaching, is not to create fear with the living beings, with the individuals. There is entire purpose is really to build, to develop sense of ethics in our daily lives. Temne juda miju sashindo, yonde gunji shiju lekwaso. One of great Indian masters beautifully put it. Having ethics in our daily lives is, like having very, rich, fertile ground. If I have an ethical way of living, if I have an ethical way of living, that will function as a very rich, fertile ground to grow all the other wholesome, what you call the virtues, mental states, to which I'm going to talk this evening, like love, compassion, altruism, tolerance, all these forgiveness, all these virtues, mind, wholesome mind, really cultivate, grows on the basis of ethics, on the basis of ethics. And ethic is practice, not out of fear, not out of whether CCTV is on or not. In that way, ethic is practice with a deep conviction on law of cause and effect. And that is really the main reason. In the monastery, we have this nice expression. It says, monasteries have two kinds of rules. One rule is coming from the Buddhas, monastic code of conduct. When you take vows, different stages of the vows, you have the rules to follow. That is the almost universal. Like if you go to the Thai, Burma, Sri Lanka, which soon some are going to come in the last 4, 5, 6 years, every year there's about 2 months exchange program. The Tibetan monks go to the Sri Lanka and Thailand and learn from them, stay with them. Then number of monks, maybe usually about 15, 20 come over here. And initially few days in Bodh Gaya and then Varanasi. And most of the time they spend time on the south, where most of the Tibetan big monasteries are. So the main sharing is monastic code of conduct and how the vows are given and so on and so forth. How the reigning retreat is observed, and there are other things. And when we share, there are very minor differences. And the major, those rules, hardly any differences. There are little minor differences. So that really tells, the monastic, the monks, fully ordained monks, the rules that we need to follow is almost same with the Tibetan and other. But the individual monasteries have monasteries rules, regulations. So it says like this with regard to the Tim Rangkur. Tim here refers to particular monasteries, what you call rule and regulations. Tim Rangkur, that means you have to, observe or taking, in order to keep by your own, Nobody will going to watch you, whether you are following the monastic rules and regulation. Tim Rangko. Domba Ramsung. Domba refers to the vows. The vows that we have taken, full ordained vows, whatever. Domba Ramsung. The vows should be kept by yourselves, not somebody going to watch you, whether you are keeping your vows or not. So that's a very nice expression. In other words, saying there's no CCTV watching you, whether you're keeping monastic rules and regulations or not, or whether there's no CCTV in your private room, whether you are keeping your monks vows or not. That's a nice expression. I'm not saying we are doing exactly what it said, but that's what nice expression. So here, my point is this, the ethics, avoiding harmful thoughts, emotions, and out of the harmful thoughts and emotions, harmful actions, deliberately avoiding, this sort of not involving these actions should be done not out of fear, but out of conviction. That's what here is, what you call that, out of those four rationality, the second rationality of function, that here, law of cause and effect, is very, very useful to have that kind of conviction, that, understanding. So this, I made this nice quotation, 2 lines, isn't it? Timni yuda mi yu sashindo, yuanden kungi shigyu lagwason. So second line, ethic. Ethic is the based on all the good qualities. Yuanden here refers to all the good quality. Yuanden kungi shigyu, she is the base or the foundation. Therefore, leopard song, excellently keep or have the excellent ethics in our daily lives. Like having a fertile, very rich soil to grow all those, the plants and whatever flowers, vegetable, similar to that ethics. And very useful to this out of the second rationality to understand that. Another point here is, the Buddhist way of practicing, the love, compassion, all these good mental qualities is very much based on ethics. So therefore, it is, useful to know. In the West, there is a long history of debating what is ethics. But here, according to the Buddhists, and I think it might be the same in the other ancient Indian spiritual tradition, which I'm not sure, but the Buddhist way of defining whether it is ethics or not, it is relatively straightforward, but not easy to practice, but relatively straightforward. It is whether that action, whether that thought is harmful or not. As simple as that. If the thought or the action is harmful to oneself or to others, directly or indirectly, right here or long term, that's how it is defined. And cultivation of loving kindness and compassion is built on that understanding. So, helpful. Oh yeah. So now here today, in this session, I would like to touch on meditation on loving kindness and compassion. Meditation on loving kindness and compassion. And these two mental qualities are, relatively universal in the sense all the major religious traditions maybe use different terms, different philosophies, but they talk about loving kindness and great compassion. In Tibetan, Chamba here refers to love or loving kindness, and Nyingje, that is compassion. And in Sanskrit, Nyingje, as you know, Karuna, or sometimes say great compassion, Mahakaruna, but it doesn't matter, just so we stick with the Karuna. And loving kindness, Metta, something like that. So anyway, now, first, before I share with you how to do the meditation to enhance, to nurture loving kindness and compassion, what I would like to say first, what is loving kindness and what is compassion? What kind of mental states that we count as a loving kindness or as a compassion, sometimes quite useful to know. So we already, I briefly shared the base, the foundation is the ethics, which one that we want to cultivate, loving kindness or great compassion, needs ethics. Living ethical life is the base or the foundation. And then these two can be cultivated. So now, first, if we, apply, if we, examine or think about one's own, feelings or experiences, there are two kinds, isn't it? Two kinds. One is occasionally joy, happiness, fulfillment, and then some other occasions, pain, difficulty, sufferings. That's what we all experience here and there, and that is the fact. And that understanding is very, very important understanding to cultivate loving kindness and great compassion. Once we fully have understood one's own the happiness, fulfillment, joyful, fulfillment, what we experience at our mental level, and what we would like to experience. Once we have fully understood that, then it is relatively straightforward to talk about loving kindness. And the same, once we have fully understood the pain, difficulty, the sufferings that we experience at this level, and also more deeper level, then, applying that to others and then cultivation, compassion is relatively straightforward. If our understanding, the happiness, joys, fulfillment, those good things, positive things that we experience and that we would like to experience, if that understanding is shallow, partial, then cultivation of love won't be that profound, won't be that deep, won't be that impartial. Same as the dukkha, suffering, pain, difficulty that we experience. If our understanding those relation to our own lives If that understanding is shallow, partial, then cultivation of compassion won't be full, won't be complete. Will be partial, shallow, temporary, so forth. So that is really something important. So in that way, for that reason, in the in the Buddhist teachings, particularly step-by-step trainings, which particularly put together in a form, in a really written text for the individual's training mind, step by step. This great Indian master, I think end of 10th or early 11th century, Atisha, Dibramkara, came from West Bengal, or Bengal, now called West Bengal, or that area. I was told currently it's in Bangladesh. Yeah. Came from there, and he was a great scholar and practitioner. He was abbot, one of the monasteries in Bodh Gaya. And then, one of the Tibetan leaders thought, okay, we need a great Indian teacher. After, there were lots of troubles in Tibet, Buddhism was more or less, vanished. And kindly Atisha came after long request, hard work. Atisha came to Tibet. And this guy, this teacher, sort of my English, this teacher, Atisha, he gave an amazing teaching which really step by step or gradual, step by step training to our Tibetan followers. Of course, it is related to the Mahayana traditions. So there is this, first step, second step, third step. And the text itself is not that long, relatively short. It is called, in Tibetan, Changchuk Lamjiduma. Changchuk Lamjiduma, lamp of the path to enlightenment. Lamp of the path to enlightenment. Changchuk Lamjiduma. Beautiful, beautiful text. And based on that text, all the different Tibetan, for schools or the traditions, masters have written so many beautiful texts. So this, the Tsongkhapa, which I mentioned other day several times, Tsongkhapa, he had written 3 versions. One is very extensive, which I mentioned other day, and one is middle, one is relatively short. So the point what I'm making here is, when we look at that pattern, gradual training, step-by-step training, cultivation of loving kindness, cultivation of great compassion is much, much later. Much, much later. Much later in the sense, when the individuals develop within himself or herself clear determination to be free from dukkha and the origins of dukkha. When that kind of determination, himself or herself, I'm not talking about others, himself or herself, clear determination that himself or herself to be free from dukkha and the origins of dukkha, when that kind of determination is cultivated, developed, then that person is relatively ready if he or she wants to move next step to think about others. That doesn't mean you shouldn't serve other living beings, but what here we are talking about, genuinely long-lasting loving kindness and great compassion. Because when we are training to cultivate loving kindness and great compassion, our main focus is other living beings. Other living beings. Very often, when we lead these kind of classes or meditations, the people, some people are very honest. They will say, okay, if I keep thinking well-beings of others, who's going to take care of my well-being? That's very honest, questions. Honest questions. But it is also a sign of have not trained gradually. If he or she has trained gradually, this question will not going to arise. Worry might be there, that's very due to the self-centered mind, due to the self-grasping, worry would occur. But that question will not occur because, okay, that's the training. I need to train, step by step. So now here, the point, the other day, this young gentleman used that term, renunciation. Do you remember? Renunciation. That term is very, very important. It is said, and I think it is true, that compassion or the renunciation are the two sides of the same coin. Compassion and renunciation. Renunciation in the meaning which I just used. Determination. Determination oneself to be free from dukkha and the origins of dukkha. That is renunciation. That mind and the compassion are the two sides of the same coin. When the renunciation, that determination, oneself to be free from dukkha and the origins of dukkha, when that flipped to others, that is compassion. That was compassion. At the renunciation, determination is oneself to be free from dukkha and the origins of dukkha. In compassion, determination, others to be free from dukkha and the origins of dukkha. Two sides of the same coin. However, in the training, first to train ourselves to cultivate determination, oneself to be free from dukkha and the origins of dukkha. When that is sufficient enough, strong enough, then there is a possibility to flip that mind to the others, then there's a possibility to have a quite reliable, not very partial, substantial compassion can be cultivated. Other ways, our compassion, but in Tibetan, I want to use this a very nice expression. Sometimes, some of these nice expressions or nice examples work in your culture, in your language. It doesn't work for the other, when you try to use it in other language or in other culture, it doesn't work. Like, when I was in London, not that often, but occasionally, some of my friends, they will take me in the evening to theater. I don't like that much going to the theater, but I've been there. Very often, entire audience laughing, I don't know what's happening. Because you don't have the culture background, so you don't get what is the joke, what is the detail. Or because maybe you understand the English, but behind that there's something, but you don't know that. So like that, there are these language and culture. Sometimes it works. So in here there is one nice expression in Tibetan. It says, when you get a nice image, get a nice image. Image is this, which happens very often, and not in the West, but here, because very often electricity goes off. And if you have a delicious cake or something in your fridge, 2-3 days, if there's no electricity, what you'll see, some green stuff coming out. So that is the image. And that is what here is used. If our mind is not, it's sort of step by step, if we don't have not trained properly, then we may have, the renunciation or compassion in that fashion. Multiply, that's right. The Tibetan word is exactly that. What you call the renunciation and multi-compassion. It is beautiful. So that means not very much useful. Not that much useful. So anyway, point is this. Is it my one or? Anyways, it's okay. Yeah. So point is this. To really, cultivate loving kindness, focus on other living beings, first, learn towards oneself the joy, happiness, fulfillment that oneself would like to have. Because loving kindness, or just say love in Buddhism, is very much focused on the happiness, the fulfillment, joy that other living beings are lacking, and you would like to work them to have. That's the love. It's not very straightforward concept, particularly for the Westerner, but that's how in the Buddhist literature how love is defined. Love is from your heart. Really would you like to serve others to have genuine happiness and fulfillment. But if I don't know what is genuine happiness, fulfillment, it is very, very difficult to me to meditate on love, want to give others love, happiness and fulfillment. That's not going to work. It is just, this word. During the meditation session, it will be just holding on that term, love, love. That's not the case. So then same as compassion. Compassion here refers to mind genuinely, sincerely want to work to solve or to help others to be free from dukkha, suffering. If we don't know dukkha and suffering that ourselves, related to ourselves, then it is very, very difficult to serve. Maybe some artificial, some surface. I guess other day I gave an example. In London, on the street, homeless people, their surface dukkha we all can see. Many of them mentally not sound. Many of them don't have any family connections, or even if they have, they don't want to connect. Even if they, the government or whatever they want to, they are entitled to receive certain benefit. They don't want to receive. Yeah, these levels of dukkha we can understand. If you remember clearly, those homeless people, as well as the currently English King Charles III, they share certain levels of dukkha, no doubt. I'm talking about the dukkha at understanding at our level, particularly from the Buddhist point of view. No matter how much those rich, famous people, no matter how much they have got, still deep down, there is a nagging, empty feeling of something is not perfect. Although I have 9, 10 palaces, or have a butler and all those things, but something is not complete. That feeling, deep-rooted feeling, is shared, all of us. At that level, we don't have difference. That certain dukkha, I may have, you may not. You may have, I don't. Physically as well as mentally. From the age, from the culture, from the background, there are differences, that dukkha that we experience. But there are fundamental dukkha that we all share, regardless of age difference, regardless of culture difference, regardless of all these differences, we all share certain levels of dukkha. In Buddhist term, that levels of dukkha is called, in Tibetan, guruedume, suffering of change. Suffering of change. Another little bit more deeper is called pervasive suffering. Pervasive suffering. So to really to cultivate a long-lasting, a complete, impartial compassion, we need to know that layers of dukkha, not just surface dukkha. The surface dukkha suffering is called, in Buddhist term, suffering of suffering. Even certain animals know as a suffering. And not only certain animals know as a suffering, even they find a solution to ease that gross levels of suffering. So it is beautiful. It is really, amazing to enhance, to cultivate compassion within us towards all living beings. But to cultivate that kind of compassion, we need to do first a little bit what in English they say proper groundwork. I'm using the construction terms. That is how it is. But if we do this work will bring really good results, long-lasting results. Based on that, then we can build entire those structures properly. If we try to go right at the beginning, to try to put a roof without having good foundation or the good columns, we'll have difficulties. So just summarize, because I'm saying too much blah blah. Cultivation of love and compassion. Because when we say I'm meditating on love and compassion, our focus is other living beings, not focus upon oneself. Yeah, and during the meditation, what we need to familiarize, what we need to, experience in our heart, gut feeling in our heart, what we need to do when, say, for example, the compassion, really from the heart to feel that all living beings. This I will come back what is mean all. First I will use that term. All living beings be free from dukkha and origins of dukkha. And that kind of mind needs to be enhanced, needs to be cultivated. But to do that, then there are a few steps we need to take. First step is need to understand dukkha and origins of dukkha fully and completely, not just shallow, not just partial. And that dukkha, full and complete, should be initially understood in relation to oneself, connected to oneself. When that understanding is applied to oneself, and within our mental continuum, within our mental continuum, if there's a burning, if there's a determination, if the determination oneself to be free from dukkha, not just partially, fully, completely, free from dukkha. If that kind of determination is need to be cultivated, so this compassion then take few steps back, so it apply to oneself. So then, if we get that kind of structure, then it is the same structure, cultivation, meditation on love. Only different is when we are meditating on love, the focus is the other living beings. Same. The difference is at the meditation on love, what we need, what we have to feel, and what we need to experience. That all living beings to have happiness, genuine happiness, and fulfillment, and then move back. That is also similar to apply to oneself. So those are the some kind of structure, stage by stage, step by step, that we need to learn. Now the meditation itself, once this kind of structure is clear, then meditation itself is not that difficult. It is, as we mentioned other day several times, to familiarize, to make our current mental state, to feel that, others to be free from dukkha and the origins of dukkha. That kind of, what you call the yearning should be there. That kind of yearning. So in that sense, it's not that difficult to understand in terms of the meditation itself. Now, if we, I'm going to make a few points, then people may have questions. We'll deal with questions. If we haven't done, the provision of those works, like understanding of dukkha fully and completely, then there is a great risk. Our cultivation of compassion may be just for the some, not to all. If you just think about there are very, very good organizations. Just bringing as an example. For example, in the UK, there are many good organizations to support broad outside UK, the community or the countries where they have lots of difficulties to the children, women, and so forth. That's really amazing work to focus. But when it's come to the individual, as an individual, the organization is not. When it comes to the individual, that kind of practice, it is quite relatively easy to extend that to long distant people, but it's not easy to practice that immediate people, beings. Why? There are several reasons. One reason is those immediate peoples that you know well. They have something. They are not really good for me a few years ago, or to my parents, and so on. So, but long distance people you never met, and you have heard they have a problem. Okay, they have a problem with the compassion. I'll do that. So that is really the sign of, I mean, it is great. I'm not saying it is wrong. Don't get wrong. No, I'm not saying it's wrong. But what I'm saying is, in terms of the training the mind, when it's come to very, step by step, the training the mind is concerned, that there are something is not correct. Why you are quite happy to give certain things to the stranger, not to your neighbor. Yeah. So like that. Once we understand the full nature of dukkha, then that kind of partial attitude will minimize. Of course, there will be priorities. If you give a cup of tea to the whoever in this here surrounding here, I think today there must be a big high sort of what you call it, the officials or powerful people may have visited here, Bodh Gaya, because on the way I went to the site after the lunch. On the way, there were many, the police was standing every sort of joint, every cross. So on the back, when the car first joined the main road, it was blocked. So I was like, okay, am I going to get it at 4 o'clock in the road? Anyway, it's slowly cleared away. That's not my point. So if we try to give a cup of tea to that person or those people, they don't have that much appreciation or needs, mainly needs. But if you give a cup of tea to a beggar, needs. There are priorities, so we can prioritize, but overall, there shouldn't be selection. But we have a selection, deep down, not just the prioritize, but also we have a selection. Our mind is not trained properly. So this, some of you have heard this, very focused training to not to have that kind of selection is equanimity. Equanimity. Cultivation of equanimity. That is very focused training. But to really relatively smoothly to cultivate equanimity towards, all these different levels of living beings, then need to understand the full nature of dukkha. Then we will have equanimity. Otherwise, difficult. And same as love. Same as love. So, meditation on love and compassion, beautiful mental qualities to be cultivated, to be enhanced. The foundation is having ethical life to cultivate love and compassion. Ethical or non-ethical is whether our actions, particularly, the very intentionally, whether those actions are harmful or not. That is the demarcation. Then, on top of that, whether we cultivate love or cultivate compassion, first need to understand, those two things that we want to focus on others. Love, want to give, want to create genuine happiness, fulfillment to others. Whether that kind of, within ourselves, relate to our own lives, whether we have that kind of desire, yearning, or not. There is a nice quotation. I think it comes from Sutra. Can't remember exactly. In Tibetan, it says like this, there are two lines. Rangi lula pelunga shenla neva machichi. Rangi lu means oneself, lu means the body, physical body. Pelungla, pe is take an example. Take an example that, that one's own, this physical body, whether one's pain or not. If you take that as an example, then it is exactly the same to the others. Don't harm to others. Because I don't want to, receive or experience any physical pain and difficulties. So do they. Therefore, not harm for others. That's what he said. So the structure of philosophy is same in here. I'm going round and round, but it's the same. If we really want to give genuine happiness and want to meditate on love, the focus is other living beings, and what we love to give them is genuine happiness and fulfillment. And that, first step is whether, myself want genuine happiness or fulfillment. Really not the word or the concept, but real. But then what is genuine happiness? What is real fulfillment? Isn't it? Do you know? Can we go and buy in the supermarket? Genuine happiness, fulfillment? What is? Of course, there are many layers of fulfillment, but what is that really we all share that, fulfillment? Can you say something? Share something? What is your fulfillment that we all share? Or happiness that you want, which we all share? Is there something? Can somebody can share with me, with us?
Desire to be happy every moment.
Desire to be happy every moment. What is it? Physical or mental? Both.
All my needs being met, all my wants being met.
Yes.
Sorry.
Sorry. Sorry.
Desire connection.
So say connection. Oh, that's quite interesting. Connection to what? Starbucks?
In my head, I was thinking my heart to self and others.
That's quite interesting. Yes. Why do you say that? Is there any deeper explanation? Because it's quite interesting.
Yeah. Oh, on the spot. I guess it just, it just fills me up. Like being able to feel connected to what's going on within you and to know to feel connected to others as well. I feel like the balance of both really rises up and gives me a joy.
Mm. Nice. Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah. Do you have something?
I was just going to say, it also might have with self-resting.
Sorry.
But it might have connection with resting at this.
Grasping.
Yeah. So it's like,
Not have a grasping.
Yeah. Connection.
We're talking about genuine fulfillment or genuine happiness. You said not having grasping. Do you want to say something? Yes.
It's genuinely helping others in the way you are making us happy.
Oh. Mm. Okay. You?
The word freedom came into my mind, to be free. And I wish that others are also free from whatever.
Free of what?
To come. Ultimately.
Okay. Any other suggestions? Yes. Orphanage.
Can help responsibility and do something and in return, I can see that this.
There's a deep satisfaction, isn't it? When you are able to serve someone who really badly needs your support, and you're able to do that, then at the end there's a deep sense of satisfaction, fulfillment. Yeah.
Happy to be.
Happy to be. Okay. I want to know a little bit further. What is that happy to be is?
An experience one time, someone asked me, if you had only 6 months to live, what would you like? What would you like to do? And there was a feeling that came to me that I would like to be, just to.
Oh, that's very interesting to think. In English, some these days they use the term bucket list. Bucket list.
Bucket list, it means a list of everything you want to accomplish before you die.
Is it like that? Bucket list? Yeah,
Yeah.
they call it. Yeah.
Yeah, the list, but that was not in the list.
Yeah.
That was not to do something.
Okay. Just be. Yeah, I think that's what I thought. It's quite interesting. Yes. Any other from this side? Because they have lots of ideas, but you all are very watching and very quiet. Yes. It is very elusive, isn't it? Yeah.
For me, it's a big wide opening to, sometimes it's small, sometimes it's universal, but it's still a big wide opening.
Mm. 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 Any other suggestions? Yes.
So it's said in different ways, but I think general contribution connection to others with doing something positive. So that's contribution.
Mm. Mm. Yes, all these are that you shared is very, very genuine and very deep levels of sense of fulfillment That's right. Whether that you want to serve others, to have that kind of what you all, give an example, whether they want or not, I don't know. Because here you want to give it, isn't it? Yeah, but you want to give, but they don't want. And what you're going to do? That's important. Because I have the same, what you call the question when we lead these kind of classes. One time, I think in Spain or in South France, I'm leading this similar class, suffering, compassion. I think it's in France. One lady stand up and literally stand up, said, "No, I don't think all living beings to be free from suffering." She said, she met many people, they want to suffer. So I don't have anything to say. She is talking about seriously from her experience. Here we are talking about both cases. And another very often come across is, why you are talking about suffering? I'm perfectly fine. I'm happy with my life. So I usually say, then why you are here? If you are perfectly happy with your life, why you are here? Anyway, so this is the concept and the theory and how it's taught to practice. How to, loving kindness meditation. It will, I think, the both sides. On the one hand, when we cultivate love towards others, again, it first comes back to here. My late mother used to say this. When you don't have it, you have a problem. When you have it, you have a problem. Those things, are not, when you have it, you feel okay, not really genuine fulfillment. The genuine fulfillment should be, or that kind of experience should not depend on any conditions. As long as that, feeling of happiness is dependent on condition, either the time, either the action, either the, whatever, then it is not genuine fulfillment or happiness. That even in the spiritual level, when you experience certain levels of development, whatever, which level that you have, it's not, due to that, the development, you feel joy, you feel satisfaction, but it depends on that development. It's not genuine. So this word, which the historical Buddha, when he taught his first teaching, third noble truth. Think about it. The third noble truth. When I experience third noble truth, that what the experience of that third noble truth. I think if I'm able to share to others, I think nobody will reject. Nobody. Somebody briefly touched earlier. I'm a little bit paraphrasing, but the more important is just think about third noble truths. If I'm able to experience that third noble truth out of the training, the fourth noble truth of the path, such as Noble Eightfold Path, that be very the genuine fulfillment. If I'm able to give, if I'm able to serve that to others, then I think there won't be single person to reject. That's our prayer. So, here, once again, we are back to the Buddha's first teaching, which I usually call, and His Holiness Dalai Lama says very often, that his first teaching, the Buddha's first teaching, is the full, blueprints of all the teachings that he had given after that. One way or another, the topics that we discuss related, connected to the first teaching, the Four Noble Truths. For example, we talk a lot about dukkha, to cultivate compassion. That's in the first Noble Truths. Or where the dukkha comes from, that is in the second Noble Truth. The same here, to cultivate love. Then what we should be, thinking to give, to serve all living beings, to have a genuine fulfillment or happiness. If we are able to give, or at least give, it's not really a nice word, create the conditions that others to experience the third noble truth. That is the thing. That is unconditional. Others all are conditioned. Okay. We'll come back tomorrow afternoon briefly on the meditation, a little bit structured. Today is a little bit more scattered everywhere. I'm jumping one point to another point. But so far what I shared with regard to this meditation on love and compassion, these are the points that we need to work. And actual sitting or the actual meditation itself is not that difficult. Very often, many of us, without doing the, proper groundwork, we want to jump to the, that is sometimes, then we make lots of mistakes. We stop and take times to to do the things. So therefore, some of these basic points are crucial to know and to work with that. Okay, now we have half an hour proper question and answer.
I feel like I have an obstacle with regards to being in this precious human birth.
Precious human.
Yeah,
Okay.
it feels like it's very easy for me to just become complacent basically and think that if these things are all set, it's all okay. Buddha's teachings are there, we have the teachings, these deities are there protecting me. And it's easy for me to, I feel like, although I know they say like to contemplate on that maybe next life you're in a hell zone. But I feel it's very, I don't know why, but it's difficult for me more and more to feel that. It feels like there's this glass window and I can see the hell realms and I can see the beings and understand the suffering, but it feels like I'm here and they're there. And it's hard for me to imagine that, oh, next life I might be there, so I have to practice now. So I feel like there's this laziness that I have developed due to the precious human conditions right now, especially the dharma being here.
Mm.
So it feels like, oh, it's okay, the dharma's here, so we're on the path, it's okay, next life I'll practice more. So I don't know, what is the antidote to this kind of complacency?
Mm. This is not what you call the unpolite answer. But get ready. In the Buddhist literatures, there are three kinds of laziness. Sorry, I'm using that term. Laziness. Three kinds of laziness. One is called, like in English, procrastinating. Chishurdilet. Chisholwa, that means, I'll do it later. That is also counted as laziness. And many of us suffer with that. That is not easy to overcome. Procrastination is very difficult mental state. I remember this very clearly when I was doing my, the master degree. And every now and then have to write the essay. Is it getting closer to 11:30 or what? Do I have another 15 minutes to the midnight? Because if that passed, then you lose point. Even if you submit it after one in the early morning hours. Anyway, so procrastination is counted as one of the laziness. The other one is called Chawa Ngeshendi Lelo. Though you are extremely active, extremely busy, busy and active, yet from the Buddhist point of view, it is part of laziness. For the worldly people, if say, oh, he is very lazy, they will disagree. No, he's very active, very busy. But the term here is Chawa Nenshen. Keep yourself very busy with a meaningless affair. That's also counted as a laziness in Buddhist literature. Then third one is very beautiful analogies. In Tibetan, it's called Gilupa. Gilupa, Giba, that refers to that muscles, at your lower parts of the leg, we have these muscles. When these muscles collapse, we can't walk. Painful, isn't it? When they sometimes, when I'm talking about not hand, I'm talking about the leg. The lower calf muscle. That's right, calf muscles. When that collapse, in the sense, have a cramp, then have a very, very painful. You can't walk. So like that, thinking, I had enough. I don't want to do anymore. Like that sense of despair. Also, nowadays, quite often the term is used, lower self-esteem. And that is also counted as a laziness. So, many of us suffer with all these three kinds of laziness. So, we need to look at sometimes it is good to, sit and search what's going on in our life. If you keep it until that's what you said, if I got it mistakenly understood, there's a glass wall and you're looking to the next life. Oh, they are in hell. You said that? That's what I understood.
I think more that I feel the sense of protection somehow. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know why.
You are lucky.
I'm so selfish. The precious human conditions have all these privileges. Make me feel this false sense of protection, and I don't know how to dissolve that.
So then, the point which I wanted to share with you, with you, not necessarily particularly you, move to the next point. Impermanence. That's the point you need. Because it is part of what in English that the term is used, take for granted. So reflect on nature of impermanence of your precious human labor. That will sort out. Okay? So there are two questions.
How do we develop something of conviction on our concept? There are
Okay.
things and different
Yes. I think it is good for first, a few times, or to look at outside world, how the results are dependent on the causes, just to the outside world. As I mentioned, if you give my late mother's example, if you want in your garden a good, vegetable, you have to do the work. Otherwise, even if you pray 100 times to the Buddha, there won't be vegetable. In Tibetan, it is called Debu Gyu Jesu Doa. Debu refers, here is the result. Good Jesudo. Whether there is a result or not, it is dependent on whether there is a cause or not. So look at it outside world. Then only difference is just to focus inward. Here we are talking about more non-materials, experiences, joy, happiness, or pain, difficulties. If the external worlds are very closely, related, whether there are causes and conditions or not, to have a result, there's no exception to the inner world. I think that is the thing, really. And also sometimes you are right, it is not easy to have a very deep, detailed understanding of law of cause and effect. But if you closely examine in our daily life, it will show us quite clearly. Not deep, clear enough for us to have an ethical life, to have an ethics.
And what would be the right meditation realize practicing the life of positive?
Okay. Here the meditation should not be, should not be looked at in general, not only what I'm talking about. Sometimes people see meditation means close eyes, sit somewhere quietly in a quiet place. That's only people count as meditation. That's a little bit narrow. That can be meditation, but if meditation is only excluded at that level, that kind of fashion, then it's very narrow. Just simply not reflecting on while you're going for a walk, while you're, carrying on routine, your activities. Simply observing that kind of relationship, connection, what you experience, and it causes. Or causes that you are creating, what you're going to experience later. Something very simple. I'm suffering a lot at this stage because there are lots of emails to be answered. If I answered, I won't be suffering. That is the direct cause and effect, connection. So, to do meditation on such as these topics doesn't need to be sit somewhere, close eyes, and be serious. I'm meditating. No, don't need that. Just in your routine activities, pay attention. That's the here mindfulness is very, very useful. Introspection is very, very useful. Very, very useful to see the things, what is happening. Then catch those, when it comes to the crunchy time. Catch it. Make it sure you got it. Once we do that, once, twice, then conviction will grow. It is same, isn't it, in the external world. If you are living in like South India, it's called monsoon is very, very, very heavy rain. So you take an umbrella. Even though at that moment, it is clear sky. But you know, if you have an umbrella, that will protect you when there's heavy rain. So that kind of causal connection. That applies to the inner world. Okay? Is a question.
You mentioned that genuine fulfillment should not depend on conditions. That's the reason. I mean, this sounds a little vague to me because in my understanding, when I accomplish something, then I feel the sense of fulfillment. So how can it not be dependent on conditions? I mean, why should we free from conditions and then I should feel fulfillment? It's not so clear to me.
Okay. It is true. That clearly shows my, what you call the unskilled teacher.
Maybe I missed something you said.
No, I didn't clearly say. Of course, in the early stage. In the early stage, somebody like you to experience cessation depends on cultivation, if we put it in general, cultivation of, the what you call the Noble Eightfold Paths. So whether you have cultivated Noble Eightfold Paths or not, it depends to you. In the future, you experience the full cessation or not. So at the early stage, they made that full fulfillment, complete fulfillment, definitely depends on things. But once it is experienced, full fulfillment, then it won't be dependent on, others.
Initially, I need to follow.
Oh yeah.
But later on, it will not matter.
Yeah. Take an example. The other day I gave you another nice analogies. Those ancient time to cross this river may need boat to cross. So after you carry on, if you still try to carry that boat, that's a burden. Why are you carrying on that boat? Because you already crossed the river. And it is like that. Once you reach at that complete cessation stage, then that cessation, whether you experience, to experience that cessation is not dependent on whether you practice Noble Eightfold Path or not. Yeah? Okay. Yeah.
You talked about the example of humility, renunciation, and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Like your explanation on the step-by-step path for real compassion. So can you explain like the step-by-step path to cultivate genuine renunciation?
Yes. If I can't give, as I mentioned other day when I was in London, those homeless people, when I saw under the subway, difficult to go in my pockets. I need to train at that level. To give at, say, the 10 quids. First, I need to learn, be able to give 1 quid. That's training. So now coming back to your direct to your question. That other day, I shared with you what you call the historical Buddha stated, we should have a middle way lifestyle. Do you remember? That is here. Not indulging sense pleasure. I mean, we are currently not concerned about we may fall in the other extreme, but we are very much in the borderline. Or the indulging the sense pleasure. That is the starting point. It is not saying not enjoy sense pleasure. It is not saying not enjoy sense. As I said, at the end of the day, we are equipped with these five sense consciousnesses. We are surrounded by these five sense objects. Why not? But this term is a very beautiful term, indulge. That is starting point, what I can see, training to cultivate renunciation.
It's hard to understand that sometimes, so apply it in life. So let me take an easy example. Like right now, if I want to not have dinner here and go out and indulge, it's something nice I like to eat.
Me too.
What do I do? Do I go out and not indulge and just
Close eyes.
or pacify this desire of mine and just eat something I don't want to eat? Like how do I?
No, I think it is really mental training. Mental training. Not have a grasping. Not have a grasping. It is mental training. In Tibetan, it's called Shenpa. Not have a grasping. Try to reduce grasping. That is really helpful. In one of the Tibetan Buddhist traditions, Satya tradition, they have a very, very beautiful teachings called Shenpa, separating our minds from the four graspings. Very, very beautiful teachings. Anyway, yeah. One more question, yeah.
Since genuine thinking doesn't depend on conditioning, so is it permanent? Is it okay to say, is it same as the ultimate happiness of the world?
Now you're going to spoil our dinner. Because if I said it is permanent, who will enjoy? Yes, there are lots of debates between the Buddhist scholars. What is that cessation? Is it permanent? Is it impermanent? Reality, I don't know, but in theoretical answer is this: as just absent or cessation, just cessation, or just mere cessation is concerned, it is absence. But as far as experiencing is concerned, it is impermanent. So if I say I'm not saying it's exactly the same. Now this table is lack of book, absence of book. There's no book on this table. As just mere absence of the book is concerned, it is permanent. But this is very abstract. Okay? Don't take very literally. Because it is, symbol, the absence, just mere absence is concerned, it is permanent. But we are not saying this is permanent. We are not saying table is permanent. Just mere absence of the book is permanent. Okay. So I will not go any further. Anyway, lots of troubles. Okay. Shall we say the Tadantara prayers? Page 270. Om Je Pama Dhamma Cha Tse Chanze Dhamma Nyuma Pama Jene Geje Lo Dang Dhamma Jige Sengge Chige She Kesa Che Wa Len Nin Chuma Chanze Dongge Tawa Kawa Jene Sige Shen Kama Tonda Soba Namdi Rado Sheven Rapa Chanze Semu Chuni Keke Peme Chanye Nabarake Jimba Zundu Kato Shewa Soba Samdin Chuni Chanze Tichin Chebe Soto Taye Nabar Jawa Chema Malu Paru Chimba Tobe Jale Seki Shindu Dema Chanze Duda Rahung Yige Duda Choda Namka Kama Jide Dumbo Shaki Ne Luba Meba Guba Nema Chanze Gyaji Mela Tsama Lola Nazo Wanju Chema Jombo Rola Jesa Nanda Nije Tsoje Dune Dema Chanze Jeje Chadang Peti Paro Chugo Rato Choma Ego Yuanjiang Shaki Nende Meba Chuba Shindu Bam Chanze Turi Chiba Chenbo Dege Bao Nambara Choma Chege Shene Choni Tenze Dao Tamje Malu Sema Chanze Kunjung Kumje Chake Seme Toga Nambara Gema Malu Choge Kolo Gema Rangi Vegi Sonam Chuma Chanze Ratu Kawa Chibe Uyen Vegi Chanwa Pema Shepa Ram She Tuta Rai Duda Jiden Wandu Sema Chanze Sashi Kyongwe Tsoda Tamje Guba Nima Nima Tonye Yewa Yige Muki Pomba Tamje Nabara Gama Chanze Dawe Dumbo Uke Tenpa Tamje Shindo Pama Rebe Chene Rupa Mese Tabara Shindo Reba Sema Chanze Gebe Tamane Barwe Chenwe Gune Yeja Yung Gune Korke Dae Pone Nabaracho Chanze Sashi Mala Chaki Tevdi Nujin Shabdi Do Chonye Chenze Ige Hongi Remba Tumbo Namni Gema Chanze Dema Gema Shema Nyangen Deshin Chu Nyema Sowa Onda Yanda Deva Chenpo Chomba Chanze Kune Koravaka Dai Lune Nambara Kema Ige Chube Mani Pepe Reba Hune Domani Chanze Turi Shani Tabe Honge Nambe Sabini Ramen Da Ratan Viche Chige Sumna Yovani Chanze Haye Chori Nambe Reta Taje Chana Tara Nije Pege Dona Manu Pani Sema Chanze Hai Chori Gepo Padam Miam Che Tema Kune Goja Kawa Chiki Zeda Melwa Ngepa Sema Chanze Nima Tawa Kebe Chini Pola Vero Sema Harani Je Tudarai Shindu Chabiri Ne Sema Chanze Tini Sunam Kebe Shive Tudayanda Tema Denda Rola Nijin Sona Choba Dure Racho Nima Zale Mati Deva Dida Chanze Ni Yishu Zao Oh, yeah. Thank you.